This weekend has been assigned by Pope Francis with a special title, World Day for Grandparents and the Elderly. This World Day that we celebrate can help us to understand that all of us, young and old, grandparents and grandchildren, whether we belong to the same family or not, we contribute much to what makes the church so special. I have always found it amazing how the young, especially teenagers, have a bond with their grandparents. I once read an essay that an 8-year-old wrote in a school describing his relationship with his grandparents. And I thought it was kind of really neat, and I saw a lot of humor in this, and I want to share this with you. This is what he wrote when trying to describe his grandparents. Grandparents are old men and women who have no children of their own, and so they like other people's boys and girls. Grandparents don't have anything to do except just be there. If they take us for walks, they slow down past the pretty leaves and the caterpillars. They never say, "Hurry up." Usually, grandparents are fat, but not too fat to tie their shoes. Don't look at me that way. They wear glasses, and sometimes they can even take their teeth out. They can answer questions like, why dogs hate cats, and why God isn't married. They don't talk like the visitors do, which is hard to understand. And when they read to us, they don't skip words. If it is the same story again and again, they don't mind. Everybody should try to have a grandma and a grandpa, especially if you don't have television, because grandparents are the only grown-ups who always have time. Now, over the years, I've often heard the proclamation that the youth are our future. But what bothers me about that statement is that it forgets that the youth are not just our future, they're our present too. And the elderly, like the young, are important now, not just yesterday for what they did, and not just tomorrow. The reason we're remembering grandparents is because every year, on July 26th, which is tomorrow, we remember Jesus' grandparents. Now, isn't it interesting that in the Holy Scriptures and in sacred tradition, Jesus shares with us his family, his Blessed Mother Mary, his foster father, Saint Joseph. And now we remember his grandparents, Joachim and Anne. Jesus shares his family because it is in the family that we grow and that we learn. We don't learn, pray, or feel loved all by ourselves and all on our own. Talk to any student who's had to encounter exclusively online classes this past year, and he or she will tell you it was not easy. In fact, it was not their favorite year. Most young people will be very clear in expressing that they prefer to be in class in person because they have a better time connecting emotionally with other people. In the context of family life, and if we had the opportunity, by watching our grandparents, we learn that the table is open to all of us. There's always room at our dining table, just like there's always room at the Eucharistic table. And symbolically, we all bring what we can to that table, using the reading today as a parallel, We all bring our own fish to the table. Grandparents bring they bring the tales of where our family came from, the old country, and how it was in the good old days. The fish that parents can bring to the table as they bring instructions which teach us how to act. Parents are not our buddies or our pals because they have a job to do. Parents have a job to prepare their children for life. And there's always a problem when a parent is a child's buddy. As my dad said to me a long time ago, not until you're 22. Not until you're 22. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, that's when we'll become friends. Until then, you listen to what I tell you to do, mow the lawn. The fish that maybe teenagers and older children bring to the table as they bring wonderful questions. And when treated with respect, which is very important, they often think about what their parents and grandparents told them long after the dinner table. And finally, the fish that the little children bring is their energy. Oh, I look at the little kids when they're here or when I go visit the school, and I say, oh, Lord, for just an ounce of that energy. They share a zest about life, and they ask questions that at first may seem silly, but actually, when you think of it, many of their questions are very deep, philosophical, very connective. We all have something to share about life. And the most hurtful moments in family life often come about when someone is not permitted to share what they have by being ways of maybe set aside, or maybe children feel mocked, made to feel inadequate, unwanted. That happens in some families, and it's a heartbreaker. It's real. At the end of the very famous sharing of what Jesus provided for the multitudes of the disciples, the Holy Scriptures note this. They said, when they had their fill, Jesus said to his disciples, gather the fragments left over so that nothing will be wasted. And so they gathered them and filled 12 wicker baskets full of the fragments from the barley loaves that had just been left over that they could not eat. I believe that Pope Francis has asked us to keep grandparents and older people in mind this weekend because as we age, we enter into a point where we often feel removed from what we used to do. And that evokes a lot of feelings in older people. Older people used to live their occupations, no matter what it might have been, and now they're no longer in the workforce. They're what we call retired. We often lose our health when we get older. It's not the same as it was a decade or two ago. Older people may often feel insignificant and unwanted because they can't remember things as well as they used to. Or maybe they're not as mobile as they once were. These are some of the things that keep older people away from the table. The goal is no matter what your age or your health condition, is that we all are family around the table. I hope this World Youth Day for grandparents and elderly people might simply jog our memory a bit and remember that what makes us most happy in life are the small things that we can do for one another, not just the big stuff. It's the small stuff. I mean, if you have a grandparent, go to their house, take a keen look around, And often you'll find little things that they cherish. Maybe they may have a little box or something on their dresser, and if you were to open it up, it might be something that one of their children made long ago, or their grandparents or their grandchildren made. Something that they look at it, to you and to me it may mean nothing, but to them it means the world. Oh, my little granddaughter made this in kindergarten. I love this. What Jesus did for his disciples, sharing a meal, wasn't all that big. He gave them a little bit of fish and a little bit of bread. But how he did it, that's what made them feel wanted. Imagine that. God made dinner, and there was more than enough to spare. What if you did that right now? What if you took the time this week that for somebody you reached out, you included, and you approved? You can change the life of someone else. And even more so, you can change your own life as well. I pray you have a beautiful week this week. Stay safe. God bless you.